So here today with Shawn Ramsey of Canal Side Tattoo, friend, colleague, and client. I figured he'd be a great person to be the first guest on the podcast because of all those things I mentioned. I've known Shawn for a number of years, and so yeah, I threw myself a softball. Figured be a little more relaxing for me. We can hopefully get the bugs out of the system for a future episode. So
check.
So I decided also that I would, while we're here, Shawn's my tattoo artist. Figured to get a tattoo while I'm here. So while we're chatting, he's gonna ink me up. Do people call it that, or did I just make something up? Inked up.
Yeah, it's not an inaccurate description.
So I have a few. I think he's done 5 tattoos.
Oh shit, you're tatted up.
Tatted up. So of course the first one was a test. It was this little Arabic, and it's actually a ex-girlfriend's name. And Shawn told me when I got it, he's like, that's never a good one to get because it ends up next step is breakup, and it wasn't immediate, but it wasn't too far after that. But it's in Arabic, so I can, and there's a definition to it. So there's more to it than just the name. And any other women that I've met won't know that I have another woman's name on my arm.
It's not a list of women,
so
that's good.
Just one. It was a test. I wasn't sure if I was going to.
Well, you answered a lot of questions with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Shawn, how long have you been in this amazing building?
Well, Matt, you helped me buy this building. We had an accepted offer on December 28th, 2023. We closed on April 28th, 2024. And we opened up here. Our first day was August 8th, 2024. So not quite 2 years yet. Still working the kinks out. But we're moved in for better or worse and making it happen.
So you've gone from, so the first time I met you,
Yeah.
when I met you, it was when you rented out your first place in Medina to do tattoos over on East Center Street.
That is correct.
Next
to the clip joint.
Next to the clip joint, yeah. And that guy was 720 square feet.
That's correct.
So was it always just you in there, or did you have other?
It started with just me. I had some lofty ambitions as to where it was all going to go, and I knew it needed to start small. And when I rented my first place, what I was paying for rent, I had just about enough saved to pay for the whole year in case nobody ever wanted a tattoo for me ever. Then I would still at least not default on my lease. So things went well. We slowly grew. I picked up another artist a couple of months in. He didn't work out for very long, and then I went back to myself for a little while, and then an opportunity came to introduce somebody to the world of tattooing, and we did it. So I took on an apprentice. Got to roll your sleeve up there and just relax your arm down. Just there you go. Damn, look at the muscles on this guy. The flexing. All right, so as you will know, stencils are very, very temporary. So we put this on. This is our guide to follow. If for some reason you want to move it, we just wash it off and move it. But 10 minutes from now, it's going to be too late. So I'm going to have you hop up and check that out in the mirror. We're looking for size and position. And then importantly, when you're looking at the mirror, you got to stand there as you normally would. People are inclined to like awkwardly stand. Just, stand how you think you might stand, in the rest of the world.
I like it. I like it right there.
Cool. All right. That needs a couple of minutes to dry, but in the meantime, I will continue doing what I'm doing.
So yeah. At that time, you were still on East Center Street.
That's correct. I was on East Center for 2 years, and then on January 28th. So a lot of eights. On January 28th, it was a Saturday, we moved the tattoo studio from East Center Street to a bigger spot on Main Street, right at the corner of Park and Main, where Curvin's used to be. Um, Local folks remember Curvin's is the little newsstand cigar shop. It's where, as a kid, I would get candy, comics, and pornography. So, and I put my, if you remember Curvin's, you had like the naughty corner, and that's where my station sat, which was
That's right.
that was very cheeky for me.
So when you jumped from 720 square feet on East Center Street to over almost 2,300 square feet,
That's correct.
was it still just you, or what?
So at that point, it was just Josh and I. So Josh, the apprentice that I mentioned earlier, who is now a full-fledged tattooer and has now suddenly returned. On March 3rd, he came back and joined us. He's been tattooing for 10 years and wants to move back to the area, be closer to his family, and love that journey for him. I'm happy to be a part of it. But yes, it was just the two of us in 2,400 square feet, which was, it was a risk. It was pretty silly. My landlord then, Tom Mack, owner of the S.A. Cook building, took a big chance on me. We hit it off. I looked at the property in July, and I couldn't afford it. And I said, hey, if you'll take like a lot less, I'll begin the process of moving in. And understandably, he's like, I can't take that less. I can't take that little for it. I need somebody. So I was pretty disappointed. I felt as though I'd missed my opportunity. I really, really wanted it, but I felt like I'd missed my opportunity. And then this would be in October, I think. A month or two later, I was literally wrapping up a tattoo, putting a bandage on, and I got a call from him. And he said, listen, Shawn, I want to get somebody in here. I like what you're going to do. And if you want it, it's yours. Come and sign. So I left right after my client. We locked the door, and I went and signed the lease on it. I just jumped on it. I didn't even think about it. I've been thinking about it for 2 months, and it seemed like a missed opportunity. And so, yeah.
So what was most appealing about the opportunity? The size, the location, the history?
The size to grow, I would say, is paramount. The location, of course, it was, and then you're right. The history of it, like having everyone locally knew where Curvin's was. The name of the studio, Canal Side Tattoo. It came about because I really wanted something that sounded bigger than just me. I've known a lot of tattooers whose tattoo studio is just like, Shawn's Tattoo or like Ramsey's Tattoo or something. Oh, fun story. There is a Shawn Ramsey who tattoos in PA. I think he might have retired, but I follow him on Facebook. I haven't seen much lately, but yeah. So my concern was always that if it's just Shawn's tattoo and you're not getting a tattoo from Shawn, then who wants to work there? That was my impression.
Sure.
No offense to anybody who does it that way, but that was always my take on it. Like, so because we were located beside the canal, it just made sense. And we kept the name, of course. Like, I wasn't gonna swap it out just moving one block away. But yeah, the history of the place was excellent and undeniable, and it was an opportunity to grow. It was very rough when we first took it over. A very good friend of mine has been a confidant and somebody I trust with my important decisions and questions I need to ask. He looked at it with me once and was like, what do you want to do this for? Like, you got everything you need right over there and you can afford it. And I don't know, I had bigger things in mind. So I took the chance on it, and that proved to be one of the best decisions I've made, because it opened a lot of doors for me. And being on that corner of Main Street, I felt like we were established. We were part of it. Remember Owen Toll?
Sure do.
Um, Owen famously, well, not famous to me, famously said, "Is that really what we want on the corner of Main Street? Is a tattoo shop?" I grew up and was very good friends with Owen's oldest son, and I knew his youngest son. And so he was always like, my friend's dad. He also was editor of the local paper. So as a paper boy, I worked for him. So we had a little history. And months later, he would wander in. He was walking down Main Street. And he came in, and I got this nice comeuppance from him. He was like, "Listen, I feel like I kind of owe you an apology. This is not at all what I expected it would look like." And I said, I understand that. I think you had an image of what a tattoo parlor would be, and you didn't want that image on your main street. Like I completely understand that. I said, this is a little bit different. And he said, this is like a salon. I said, well, essentially it is. Like it is very, very similar services. So the structure and the layout is very similar as well.
Well, I was thinking the same thing when you mentioned who you rented it from.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Mack, older
Mm-hmm.
gentleman,
Sure.
attorney. Is that something that, he wants to be something he wants to be associated with? Because, that Owen's perception,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's not a unique one.
No, and it's not wrong.
So you must have knocked it out of the park with this guy for him to say, "Yep,
I
come on
think
in."
so. I think so. I wrote him a letter, which I don't think people do ever anymore. But certainly at this stage, 2017, people weren't. I just I wanted him to understand my vision and my intentions. So I wrote him a letter that, I don't like to necessarily brag about myself or talk up myself. Like I can state facts, but I really wanted to be clear that the way I do things is not what you might be imagining. And he took a chance on me. His wife, he also attributed to helping make that decision because she really liked me. She liked the letter, and it spoke directly to them. And Tom would later tell me that he was 43 when he bought that building, and I was 43 when I moved into that building. So I think we may have seen some parallels there. Certainly, we've had very different lives and experiences, but there were some parallels there, and I think that began a good relationship. He was an excellent landlord. He would later tell me that I was one of the best tenants he's ever had. In particular, when I asked why, he said, because you treat it like it's your own, you take care of it. And I just felt like that's absolutely like how someone ought to be. Like I was a steward of that property, and I wanted to see it done. Like when I had the electric done and stuff, I did it all right with the intention that one day I wouldn't be there and someone would need it to be done right. So
Good
yeah,
way to approach life.
I think he took a big chance on me, and I believe that he didn't regret it. I think he still feels pretty confident he made the right decision. He expressed his regret at the time of us leaving when we finally told him we were moving. We even went into a little notion of trying to save. What else could we do to make it work?
So at the height, at the pinnacle,
Yeah.
how many artists did you have? How many
Um,
artists were working with you?
we had 6 artists. We had 2 body piercers, and at that point, we had a staff of 2. A studio manager to help run the day to day and oversee everything, and then a front end manager to run the desk. It's so much more than reception. Like I feel like a receptionist it's an understatement of the position. It's more than that. You're the face. You're the greeting. Often doing everything the manager would do when the manager's not available. It's more than just a reception position. But yeah, at that point we were there was 10 of us.
Wow. So tattoos, body piercing. Did you
Hmm.
have the microblading at that point?
No, not at that time. Microblading came along May of 25.
Oh,
Wasn't until we were on West Avenue here that microblading came along. And that's been an absolute great addition. I'm very excited about. I don't know. It's very fascinating to see how she does it. Her name's Jana Sturk, and I think she fits in great with our group here. You know, personalities jiving together is a challenge when you get. So she brings it back up to 10 people again. It's a challenge when you get a lot of people, but we've got some good ones again, and I'm grateful for that. That makes life just a little bit easier.
so I hear a recurring theme:
Hmm.
culture,
Sure.
fit. So one of the things you do is you have shop days. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah. So shop days came about sort of organically, but I have a friend of mine, Melissa Freeburn, out in the Adirondacks. She's got a studio named Artisan Inc. And I took a page from her book that they would meet once a month, and they would do like a critique and art day and stuff like that. And we had started doing a critique, but we found that it was becoming difficult to get everybody at the same place at the same time without working. We've got artists at home with kids and wives and things to do, and not everybody wants to hang out when they're not working, if I'm being perfectly honest. So we eventually made it a tradition that this way it would always be on everybody's calendar. We schedule it for the first Tuesday of every month, regardless of how it falls. Tuesday is traditionally our slower day. We're open Tuesdays through Saturdays. So Tuesdays is usually the slower day, so it's not a huge deal to miss a Tuesday. And our shop day structure has evolved over the years. We do something we call pocket classes. So that's um, a 30-minute ish lesson on a thing that you know, and we rotate. So a different person will do the pocket class each week. In the past, we have learned how to take heavy cream and whip it into light whipped butter. We've made pizzas. We have gone disc golfing. James once gave us all a lesson in golf etiquette. Now, I golf a little bit. I know how to golf, but I don't know that I ever knew the rules on golf etiquette. Some traditional things that you do or don't do. So that was pretty helpful. Um, we have we've learned a lot of little things. I did last February. I did my first pocket class. I think it was my pocket class on like personal finance and how to save money. Um, which my secret is just hiding it from myself, because I've taught myself how to forget about money that I've saved because I have to. If you're going to be financially responsible, you need to not spend all the money you save. So that's the big secret.
now is that something you learned the hard way,
Yes,
like I learned all my lessons?
yes,
Yeah.
sir. I've been through a bankruptcy when I was married. We started a small business together. We had a bakery, and at some point, when we split up and the bakery folded, we were still going through a bankruptcy. We had borrowed too much and couldn't sustain it, and we couldn't maintain. We weren't getting ahead. Like if you're paying the minimum, you're not getting ahead. You're just slowly digging. So we stopped the bleeding when we could. My ex-wife's parents were very helpful with us to a point, but they're not just going to bail us out. So we were, yeah, I bit the bullet and did the financial do-over, if you will. Highly recommend bankruptcy. I learned a lot the hard way, but I,
Yeah.
I did learn a lot. And the like the home finance envelope system that's what they, in order to be discharged from bankruptcy, you have to take a home finance class, like a course. And that's what they preach. And it seems so simple and archaic, but I have found the simplest way to manage your money. Um, and it works. So I pass that along to my team. Um, you know, maybe if you hear the advice of somebody who's been bankrupt before,
Mm.
you would listen and be like, oh yeah, well I don't want that to happen to me. It's not the end of the world. You come out of it. But yeah.
So you mentioned ex-wife.
Yeah,
You're originally
yeah,
from Medina,
yes, sir. Born and raised.
but you were with your ex-wife. Were you in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh?
So I went to school at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, and upon graduating, I liked it there. I felt like I had found my home, and I had met who would soon become one day become my wife. So we stayed in PA. It was nice down there. I loved it. It was my second home. I've had like two full lives. I grew up here and then went away. I was away for 21 years.
Mm.
I had a career and a family and a marriage and businesses, and the whole deal. And then when I didn't have those things anymore, I decided it was time to move home and try this thing for myself here.
So when did you move back to Medina?
November of 2014, which, if you're checking your calendars, was the snowpocalypse. So moving back to Western New York and then discovering that it still is capable of snowing 6 feet in a day, that was fun. That was a good time. But I moved back in November of 14, and then I met you in December of 14, and I rented that place next to the clip joint. I rented that in December of 2014, and I was open in January of 15.
Now were you working for a marketing company? You owned a marketing company at that time?
I was still a graphic and web designer, full time, and tattooing part time. I was ready to make the go of it full time. I've been tattooing for 10 years at that point. The rules were always, you should know how to, or you should be tattooing 10 years before you have your own studio. That was sort of the old guideline, which I do believe is pretty accurate. The number of things you see in that time is pretty significant, and it's helpful if you have a mentor who can show you those types of things. Learn by watching how they handle things. It's not just learning to tattoo, but like learning how they run their studio and all of that stuff. Um, Something I wanted to talk about is mentorship. So I find, and maybe you find this as well, that um, over the course of my life and in business, jobs, etc., I've collected a couple of mentors, people that I very much looked up to or learned things from, and like my father-in-law was an excellent business mentor, and I never worked for him. I just had him available to ask a question from time to time, and he was excellent with advice for sure. I'm curious about you. Who was your mentor?
Well, in the real estate world, it would be Rita and Mark Zambito.
Mm-hmm.
Not a week goes by that I don't reference something that they said or did, or a situation will come up, in my head, or
Mm-hmm.
an agent on that I work with on my team, and well, Mark says this, or Rita would always say that. I reference them frequently. I'd say,
Yeah,
yeah, at least once a week.
just gonna
I've learned a lot from them.
That's great.
That's where I started, and that's where I learned how to be a realtor is in their office.
That's great.
And my father, we family owned a clothing store on Main Street, and one of the things that I hope to get away from, but I remember him saying was, I don't know if the business owns me or I own the business.
Yeah.
He may have said that frequently, but he loved what he did.
Yeah.
Not just the store, but in the community. And so yeah, my father was a major role model in my life.
That's good. Small business and entrepreneurship is such a time consuming endeavor. Um, so I think it's great that you were able to see that firsthand and hear that from him. So you can't say you didn't know what you were getting yourself into when you started
Right.
working for yourself. Um,
So you moved back here. You said in
in 14,
14.
opened in 15, and then that takes us right back to when we met. You were the realtor renting me my first hung my first shingle, as they say.
In hindsight, what would you have done differently that first year?
I not rented with you, that's for sure.
Cut.
So, that first year, I mean, I did make a lot of mistakes, but it's so long ago that I do tend to focus on what I did right that year. I advertised a ton. I I was willing to meet everybody and talk to everybody. Um, it's helpful when you own a small business, and when you own a small business in a small town, it is helpful to meet a lot of the people in that town. So even if it's just a matter of stopping off for a beer on the way home, or make sure you go out to eat on Sunday morning instead of staying in, like a way to see who's in your community, who's out there. I felt as though that was my goal, is to not just have a business, but try to be um, somebody in town, somebody that people could recognize and hopefully have a favorable opinion of. Can't win them all. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I focused more on what I did right that first year, because yes, mistakes are made constantly, but um, you just don't repeat those, and then you try to focus on your wins and try to repeat your wins. I am an inherently negative person. I am one to dwell on all the negativity. I'm also one to worry about lots and lots and lots of things that may happen. Um, the difference between um, myself and what I would think is true anxiety is that I don't let the fear of what could happen impede me from trying, or impede me from doing what needs to be done today. Um, I feel like actual anxiety can be paralyzing to the point where you won't try, you won't get out there and do it, because you're worried about all the ways you could fail. Um, I think it's healthy to worry about the ways you could fail and use that to help you make better decisions. You know, um, great advice. Get this.
You said ooh. I was
Ooh,
afraid.
yeah.
You don't like
Oh yeah.
hearing
We
that when
don't
your
we don't
tattoo
say
artist says ooh.
we don't say ooh. We don't say oh shit. You don't say oh no. You don't say whoops. Um,
Whoops.
so great advice from my very good friend Mike, is he talks about 10-year-old Mike. So I think about that a lot, because I do relate to growing up in this town and the younger version of myself. So he talks about 10-year-old Mike. Like, what would 10-year-old Mike think about this decision I'm about to make, or this position that I find myself in? And it's great for perspective if you come from a place where you're doing better now than you were at 10 years old, obviously. And it also helps you to see the positive. Like I got out yesterday for about an hour and fished in the canal, and 10-year-old Shawn would have thought that was pretty cool. I didn't catch anything, but I caught some crayfish and flipped some rocks, and I had a nice little nostalgic hour, because it was nice out yesterday and didn't get rained on. So, that's good advice that I've used myself too. We're just gonna bend this arm gently. There you go. So muscular.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
But
for
yeah,
noticing.
yeah, of course. I can't help it. I'm just slaving away at your muscles here.
So another recurring theme that I hear is you learn from so many different people. You have
Absolutely.
mentors, you have friends that
Mm-hmm.
you learn from. You also mentioned before we started recording that you go to tattoo shows in
Mm-hmm.
different areas,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
heading to Saratoga soon, and you get ideas from those people too. How they do, how they,
Absolutely.
because like as you mentioned, you're not just a tattoo artist. You're an artist. You're a business owner. You're
Yeah.
a boss to some degree. Well, you have employees, but a lot of your tattoo artists they're independent contractors. But so you're a leader.
A
So that
mentor, if you
a
will.
mentor too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a businessman, a pillar of the community, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and being as humble as you are, you will scoff at that as you just did. But my guy here, he is very active in the community, and not just from the business standpoint. Medina has this Norman Rockwell event every Saturday after Thanksgiving, where they have um, booths and tables set up all down Main Street. There's Santa parade. There's a pet parade, and at night there's a parade of lights. And one of the things that Shawn has taken over the mantle of, grab the baton, is there's a toy drive. And talk a little bit about that, if you would. How that all came about. How you
So yeah, so first things first, the toy drive was not started by me. It was started by Andy Sikowski. Andy grew up for a while down the street from me in the trailer park at the end of Saltworks and Park Avenue. Um, Trailer life has absolutely helped shape myself, and certainly Andy had that in common as well. Neither of us grew up with a whole lot of wealth or those types of advantages, so he wanted to start a toy drive and help out the local kids in the entire county, not just Medina, because there's an opportunity there, and that still persists to this day, of course. But now, he and I, we've come a long way in our age, and we're in a position where we could help. And I think 10-year-old Andy and 10-year-old Shawn would be pretty stoked about that. Like there's an opportunity there for us to make a difference. To try to do well by our younger selves. And um, what's the what's the phrase, like be the person you would have wanted. I think that's what it is. Like be the person you needed, or be the person you wanted.
so we spoke about you spoke about the toy drive. You
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
you're very active with charitable organization Cat by Cat.
Yes. Cat by Cat is a fine organization run by fine people,
One
especially
of them is his
the
fiance.
the Medina chapter or Medina team. I don't know if I think it's Medina team. Um, so, and if I've got it incorrect, I apologize. But Cat by Cat Incorporated is 501c incorporated in Niagara County, run by Sally and John Merritt, and they've been running an organization that has been successful and provides services that Shannon and her mother were trying to do on their own here. So they teamed up to have a better connection and resources. So, what Cat by Cat Incorporated specifically focuses on is TNVR, trap, neuter, vaccinate, release of community cats. So, I've heard them stop using feral and start use the words community cats, which I think that sounds fun. Um, the notion is that these cats have a right to exist, but they should not be allowed to procreate wildly, because that does create a problem. So um, They very often are called to help people who have a community cat nearby. They want to make sure that it is vetted, neutered, and spayed, and has the best opportunity for a life. Outdoor cats don't typically live as long as indoor house cats. So, it's not, it's probably not a wonderful life for them, but some cats are very much happy living without people and outdoors. So they are a resource for our community. We have a lot of feral and stray cats in Medina. So they saw an opportunity to make a difference in something that they care about, and I simply can't overstate the incredible time and effort and dedication that they put toward that cause, because it's so important to them. And I look up to them so much because of the selflessness, and they do for others because it needs to be done. And I think the world needs a whole lot of that. And I'm grateful to be a part of it, or to be in small way some small way a part of it. And I believe, not just because it's my fiance, but I believe that they're doing great work, and they need the help and the resources. So we do an event every year. We call it Catterday, but it's on a Sunday because Cunday doesn't have the right ring to it. Um, and it blows people's minds every year. They don't understand, but and the and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I I ask for volunteers. I ask for um, tattooers that will come and spend a Sunday tattooing for free. You can keep your tips, but the idea is to raise as much as possible, because we make up a huge portion of that organization's annual budget. So we've become a very keystone event fundraiser for their organization. So in order to get as much money as possible, we ask that our artists work for free. And to give up a Saturday when you can make a lot of money on a Saturday doesn't make sense. But to give up a day off is an easier sell, I feel.
So now I remember last year, I couldn't get over the number of baskets, how many
Yeah,
donations
yeah,
you had. You
yeah,
had the covered area over there, and
yeah,
a couple of things that I noted when I got here. It was pissing down rain,
yeah,
and people still came.
yeah.
They fought through it.
You
They
know
wanted to
what?
be part of.
It
They
kept the
wanted
heat
to give
away.
that too. It kept the heat away. But I
Hmm.
think that says a lot about the community.
Sure.
It says a lot about you and Shannon.
I mean,
That people wanted to
Western
come out and support you.
Western New York loves a good basket racket.
Yes, we do. But I also remember the vendors that you had there. You people got good exposure.
Sure, I would like
And
to
part of
think
that
so.
has to do with all of the things that you've already talked about as far as your business and the culture and the community and why people want to be involved with
Yeah, foster a little
your
goodwill.
events that you're directly associated with. They want that spot out in your parking lot
Hmm.
because it's great exposure. The one guy, Cold Brew. He got
Hmm.
business. I loved his drinks. He got business off of me because I
Hmm.
met the guy. I was like, and he got your nod, you know.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
he already has a leg up, and I did an open house, and I invited him to, trying to get people to come to the open houses, and sometimes we do different out of the
Sure.
box things, and he came to one
I
of
think
our
that's
open
pretty cool.
houses. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
it came back around for him. He came and put in the time and donated his Sunday, or I'm not sure the setup with those guys, but um, and you're a, we'll call it the Shawn effect.
Hmm.
It's a wide breadth. Is a wide
Sure.
is that
That
that's
sounds. I mean, I don't know. I don't mean to be dismissive. I mean, it's a very
no,
very
but
complimentary thing, but I don't.
I wouldn't call it dismissive. You are very humble. We've had conversations about that before, and um, I remember. Hopefully, I'm not speaking out of turn.
Go for it.
One of your tattooed artists. I
Hmm.
think there was two of them within the same short period of time they left,
Hmm.
and you're like, man, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I was joking, saying that, dude, not everything's about you. But I meant
Hmm.
that. I said it in a snarky way, but I meant it in that had nothing to do with you. It wasn't anything you did. It's what they wanted to do. I mean, and
Yeah,
I'll
I
be
think that's
completely.
reasonable.
I'm very transparent. Part of the reason why I listed at the beginning of this why I'm here in our relationship.
Hmm.
But it's also I wanted to do right by this podcast. And since I had the relationship with you, I knew that there'd be more eyes on this, and there'd be more exposure for the podcast, which hopefully brings more exposure for the community.
Sure.
And um,
Maybe more exposure for Cat by Cat's Catterday coming August 16th, 2026.
and unfortunately, I don't think when this airs, there's also another event coming up on the 25th, I believe,
Yes, I think
in
so.
Barker.
Yeah, but I don't have the details for that, nor do I was I prepared for that.
And I saw it on Facebook, but I don't know if this will be up online by then. But we'll
Well,
definitely do some. We're gonna be just doing some promotional things for
yeah.
this, and I'll make sure to note that. And that's honestly, I initially thought about doing this 6 or 8 months ago, somewhere around there, and I thought
Hmm.
it'd just be something fun to do.
Yeah.
I, like yourself, I'm blessed to have people in my life in both my businesses where I don't have to be there all the time, and
Hmm.
the walls aren't going to literally fall down. Um, so I can do things that I wanted to do. So this is one of the things that I wanted to do, and initially it was going to be. The thought was, and I was thinking that it was just going to be my mom was going to be the only subscriber that would see this, and then
Yeah.
I did a post a while back and mentioned I was going to be doing this, and I got some heartfelt um, feedback on it, which was great. But then it was also like, oh shit,
Now
I
you
got to
got to
step up
do
my
it.
game. Yeah,
Uh huh.
I got to step this up
Uh huh.
and make sure that the production and
That's
everything
what
is right. And
happens when you declare your ideas on
yeah,
social media. Somebody might actually want to see them.
so
I prefer to talk about things that are definitely happening so that I can still change my mind.
so I so initially it was going to be some branding going on, and
Okay.
but I want this to be about, because a lot of the feedback I was getting, it's so cool you're doing this for the community.
Hmm.
And so I want to be sincere, and I want to stick with that, and it be about Medina and the surrounding areas,
Yeah.
and the stories of the people that are the heartbeat of the town.
Yeah. I believe in this absolutely. So I'm a part of the Medina Area Partnership, and they do a member spotlight. And I had stepped up and said, all right, I think I want to be involved with the member spotlight. And what I had envisioned for it was a more longer form interview that would be a lot more in depth and ask follow up questions. Yes, you start with a couple of canned questions and then see where the conversation takes it. I did one, and I did it with Sarah Flansburgh, who purchased Blissets and runs Blissets, and because I was very excited to do it because I'd never met her. Blissets has been at our it's
Mm.
like 70 or 80 years old. Like Blissets has been, excuse me. I can remember when you meet somebody who knows about Medina, Blissets is one of the things they know about it because they got a wedding dress, bridesmaid dress, prom dress. It's Jay Sullivan has created an absolute wonderful brand, and for her to sell it, I know Jay wouldn't have just sold it to anyone. So I wanted to know who bought it. Um, I I had a much more thorough, long form interview planned out, but it wasn't quite the vision that Medina Area Partnership had for their member spotlight. I imagined like surely you can't know what a Playboy interview is, but
What you've been told.
those were like 5 or 6 pages long, and it was real in depth. Like you learned something about the person, not just what they were plugging or what they had to say. And that's what I had in mind for it. So Your podcast idea, I feel like absolutely fills that same sort of that niche. I think there's a lot of value in that, so I'm incredibly flattered to be asked to do it. I'm happy to work out the kinks with you. Um, the notion that I get to tattoo while I'm doing it, so now I don't have to worry about what to do with my hands. I don't have to make eye contact with anybody. Like, I could just do this is what I would be doing anyway. It's also way easier to set aside the time if we just consider that we're working.
And I get a piece of your art on my body.
Oh yeah, forever and ever.
Well, yeah, and that's the problem with this other one over here. We got to figure out how to make that
Sometimes it be
different.
that way. That's the downside of permanence, I reckon.
Got a grinder at the job site.
Grinder.
Yeah.
Yeah. You a big fan?
Not on my arm, but
Gotcha. An air grinder will take a tattoo off. You got to be very quick with it. Like, we could take it off with an air grinder, but you just got to zip it right off.
no,
I've not practiced this, but I believe that it would work.
We'll either leave that logo or meld it into something else. I'm not.
I am willing.
This is the extent of.
I am willing to guinea pig you for the air grinder. I think it would work.
I appreciate that. That's big of you.
Yeah, I really do think it would work.
So do you just want to be present, or do you want to actually be holding the trigger?
No, I want to hold the trigger, and
Gotcha.
Here's why. I think you're going to want to flinch, so I'm going to know that because I do stuff like this to people all the time. So I'm going to go in real fast, hard, and deliberate.
Rip the damn Band-Aid right off.
Yeah, like it's a 10-second process. Whereas
the pain,
if you're tentative, then you might be 10 times worse or ineffective. But I would love nothing more than to shave that off you and see if it works.
Yeah,
I think under close medical supervision, of course, naturally.
Yeah, we'll come up with another idea instead.
Yeah. All right, Matt. You got any advice that you've heard from other people? So you mentioned Rita and Mark Zambito's, where you learned realty from. So I sometimes hear mentors' voices in my head. I hear the things they have told me, but I hear it in their voices, not in a excuse me, not in a I'm talking back to voices kind of way, but I attribute it to where I heard it from. Something I like to ask people is what sort of advice, what do they have? Like, I'll gladly share with you some of mine, but what sort of advice or what sort of like words of wisdom has stuck with you?
Might have to clip this.
That's okay.
Splice it.
I'll start. I get an easy one. I learned from my father-in-law, and wonderfully successful, great man, Ray Collins. He once told me that if a friend borrows $20 from you and you never hear from that friend again, that was $20 well spent.
I've heard that and I like it.
That's a good one. Ray also told me once, Shawn, you got to decide if you want to be an employee or if you want to be an owner. And I still wrestle with that, because what I enjoy is this. Ownership is great, and I enjoy that similarly, but not the same. So in order to, what I guess he was referring to is, in his business, he can't always get down on the line and he can't just get down and turn a wrench. At some point, you got to be in charge and run the wrench turners, or you've got to. So I struggle with that one. I still think about that one a lot. I think in my specific industry, it's a little bit different. Tattoo shops that are owned by people that don't tattoo are not often appreciated or well liked. And I do this because I want a place where I can do the work I like to do, and I do it in an environment that I make as comfortable as I am able, and give that opportunity to others. because I think everybody deserves an opportunity to do well. And what I find important after 21 years of doing this, I would like to think that other people might also find important. So I get that. I get that taken care of. Ray also taught me so tax days this week. I haven't paid my taxes yet, but I'm waiting on the number. Um, Pay your taxes on time and pay them what they owe, but don't give them a dime more. I always felt like that made so much sense. That advice came from Bruce Bronsky, my first like official boss. He's like, Shawn, don't get in trouble with your taxes. Always pay your taxes, but don't give them more than they need. I just always thought that made sense.
I think those are amazing words to live by. I have not received my numbers yet either from my accountant, and I'm hoping that just might not happen. Like they forget about me. Not my accountant, but just the feds in New York State. I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening either, but I would love that. I would be so happy for you if that's what happened.
Yeah, well, one can hope. One thing that a saying that I remember and appreciate is, and I might be butchering it. Find what you do something you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. I think I butchered that, but the general, and I'm blessed to say that I am doing, the things that I own a couple businesses and to they kind of work hand in hand, but they're in different fields, and so have a small construction company, and I love that aspect of it, and the buying the house and designing it and the budgeting and working with the guys. Well, not working with the guys. That's one thing that I miss is since I have the two and both of them are basically full-time gigs, I don't have time to get my tool belt on, so I don't get to play with my toys and in the sawdust. And so I think that's one thing that I'm working on, that I'm going to put my mind to. I want to find a day a week, a day every 2 weeks where 8 hours on the second and fourth Tuesdays, I'm on the job site banging nails because I miss that. I miss that part of it.
That's cool.
But I do, I'm blessed to be able to say that my life these days it's pretty close. I don't know what I would change. Single, and that's probably something I would change on it, but it's not something that I'm content. I'm not complacent. I do want to, buy and sell more houses on the renovation side, on the construction side, and help the people that work with me, the agents and employees, to help them to get to their Disney World, get to their ideal situation, meet their goals, because that's important to me, helping others, and that's really the reason why I can do. I just talked to the woman over the weekend. She's like, "How do you do everything that you do? I don't know how you find time." Well, again, I'm not banging nails, and I have people that I work with that I work with, and that help me to be able to do a broader scope of things. But again, I'm not banging the nails, and I'm not showing all the houses. So I think that's something that I remember. Do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. I think that's pretty close. Another one is read in a book, Gary Keller. He's one of the founders of Keller Williams, and in one of his books, he it's talking about a team growing, and a lot of agents, they don't. We don't want to give up our buyers because we have relationships with them, and I handle them a certain way, and nobody else can do what I do. And the dude basically said, "Get over yourself. Somebody can do just as well as you can. Get the hell out of the way." And I always remembered that. And fortunately, got a couple of agents on my team, working on our team that are fairly new. And my nephew Kevin, Grace is probably making some motion right now when I mentioned Kevin, and pat him on the back. The kid hit the ground running, and I know that my clients that I've been working with, I don't have all the time in the world, so Kevin has more than me. I hand them off and introduce them, and I know those people are getting taken care of. But it started with being told, "Hey, you're not the end all be all. Somebody else can do it too." And so that's important. And leverage. Everybody leverages things and people in their lives. If you go to the barbershop, you're leveraging the barbershop to get your hair cut. You're not cutting your hair yourself. And I one of the reasons why I can do this podcast is because I have the time, because there are people that are working with me that can handle, that can take care of and take this to the finish line. Michaela, she's great. She's my director of operations on the real estate side, and been in real estate for about 13 years now. And there are things that I wanted to do and things that I should be doing, and many of both of those buckets I wasn't doing. This is one of those things. So now what's nice is Michaela, she's an employee of the team, and what's nice is I can go, oh yeah, I want to do this, and here you go, Michaela, and I can get the hell out of the way and know that it's going to get done, and I don't have to micromanage it. I can come up with the idea. She's going to bounce questions off of me and form it, and work with other people on the team to get that done. And she enjoys doing those things. And
that's excellent.
And what great thing too is that I think is great is that one of the things that Michaela wants to do is staging houses. So with my construction side, we pretty up a house. I call in the stager. She comes in. She charges me money to put furniture and knickknacks and things to make it look more like a home when buyers come through. Well, wait a minute. Michaela wants to do that. So now she has the opportunity. She's going to be, house that we're completing here shortly. She's going to be doing the staging. So it's nice that, I can provide those situations and those things that they want to do. And
sure.
Makes me feel good because she told me the next day, she's like, you have no idea how excited I was when I got your text about doing that. So she said she was already had ideas floating around in her head. So it's pretty cool that as a business owners, it's not. I have a thing. I may mistakenly say it, but I never say people work for me. I always say work with me because it's.
I do the same.
And I don't know if it's something, insecurity I have about people looking down on other people or what it is, but that's truly how it is. And maybe it's just, a word, because they're working for themselves and their family. They come to work for a paycheck for themselves.
That's
so
who they're working for.
with me so that we can have the lives that we want.
Yeah. And you're working alongside them.
Correct.
So that is working with. Absolutely. There's a very clear difference in my eyes as well. And I treat it the same way. I agree.
On the job site, people, some of the guys, they'll I'll be going in there to get a ladder and they'll run and get the ladder. I'm like, no. Listen, I'm nobody. I'm somebody. I have a role. My job is to get the project, provide the material, and make sure you get paid on Friday. That's my job. I'm not on any higher level than anybody else. That's my role. Y'all have the role to take it from idea to finished product, and mine is what I already mentioned. So I'm not sure I'm Santa Claus on Friday when I bring the pay, but other than that, I don't think I should be treated with any respect because of that. Maybe any more respect than they should be receiving. Because if it's not for them, I wouldn't have what I have if they weren't there.
Yes.
Like my guy Mike, forget about it. This guy, I would trust him with anything. He and I know when he's on a job site, and my other guys are too, but I know that he has my best interest at heart, and the person whose home we're working on, if it's a private individual. But I have some very special people in my life where I'm a fairly trusting person to begin with, but these are my babies, kind of, so in order to put things on the table and get the hell out of the way and know that they're going to be taken care of, I'm very fortunate to have the people I have in my life, because I wouldn't have the life I do if it wasn't for them. So they should be respected too, because they're helping me to get where I want.
Yep, couldn't agree more. The people you surround yourself with make the most impact on your life. The people you choose to be around, the people you surround yourself with. I try never to be the smartest person in a room. If not, I'm not in the right room. I try not to treat myself like I have all the answers, because that can't be true. So you're onto something there. It's the people you surround yourself with. So you've raised a teenager before. You've likely discovered, as I did, that when you're young and impressionable in that age, that you are the aggregate of the people you surround yourself with, and that carries on into adulthood, and certainly in business, where if you surround yourself with 4 other people that are looking to grow and do well, you will find that you are looking to grow and do well. And if you surround yourself with 4 people that want to fuck off and do the least, you'll probably start fucking off and doing the least. It's that same mentality that carries out. So you wanna be careful who you dedicate your time to and who you surround yourself with, because their habits could be rubbing off on you while you're trying to rub good habits off on them.
And you mentioned culture, and that's I don't want to be around people that are bitching all the time. It's not good for morale. I choose in my personal life, I don't want to be around that. And I learned that from my son. He advocates for himself, and not necessarily with people, but just in general. So, especially on the job site, I don't want somebody in there that is, just bitching the whole day. It grinds people, and it just and I'm not looking for cheerleaders. Yeah. If they are, great, but come in and do your job. Don't be a dick, and everything will be fine. Everything will work out. And I had to let somebody go that was, as far as tactician, as far as mechanic, as far as doing their job, they did it well. But people didn't like being around him. And I, unfortunately, the guy had to go. And just like when in a lot of businesses, but I think especially in the hard trades, finding people that want to do those jobs is tough. But I had to look at the big picture. I was like, all right, I need to insulate my guys and myself. But I need to insulate my guys who's around this person for 8 hours, and they don't want that. They don't want to hear that, and I don't want them to hate coming to work. Okay, I'm gonna be working with this guy this day, and it just sets a bad tone from the jump. So I think it's important. Sometimes you need to, take a step back, and not necessarily in a negative way, but take as far as production, assess, reassess and adjust, make adjustments on the fly.
I found myself in the position of being the one people don't want to be around, and that's a tricky one. When you find yourself sucked into that negativity void, and when you let what is stressing you stress others around you, it's an eye-opening thing to because as much as you let yourself go, you can't. You're here. So you've got to take an inventory, and you've got to assess, and you've got to start making some changes. And that's been something over the last specifically 2 years that I've focused a lot more on, is how to make those changes within myself. Because I would pull me aside and say, listen, man, you gotta make some changes. And if you're not careful and you're not paying attention, the feedback you're getting from others could be directed or deflected, or you can make some excuses for yourself in your own behavior. So that's an important thing too, and I think it's a tough lesson to learn late in life. A lot of lessons. I've said in the last couple of years, like I'm sick of everything turning into a lesson. But there's no cure for that.
No.
And if it's not turned into a lesson, you're just not paying attention to it. And I I do be making my mistakes, and if you don't learn and grow from them, then you're really making a mistake. So
Speaking of growth, business wise,
yeah.
are you there? Are you looking to expand, bring on more people? I mean, you mentioned the Jana doing the
Yep.
microblading, and you have this amazing shop over here that you brought over from Main Street, and you have all sorts of
Mm-hmm.
interesting items for sale and
Mm-hmm.
niche items.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, what's what do you see? Here's the hard hitting question:
Let's
Where do
get
you see
after it.
yourself 5 years from now?
I still have some growth in mind. I have a couple of avenues that I would like to explore for myself and for Canal Side Tattoo. I've taken on Tyler, who's been with me for 8 years, um, or has it been longer? No, 9 years. So Tyler's been with me for 9 years, and we spoke last year about where he wanted to be, and he's got a lot of interest in starting a game shop like trading card games, Pokemon and stuff. So I said, well, listen, what could we do to make that happen now? So we carved out a little bit of the frontage up there, and he's got his own store within a store. And I'm very interested to see how that develops and how he grows that. Um, I would like to, 5 years from now, I would like to see us make more opportunity for that and allow him to grow that the same way I've grown and others have grown. So that's important to me. But I'm not ready to talk about what I want to do
Okay,
naturally.
all right.
Um, my my grandmother once told me that I need to learn to shut my mouth. And boy, I
I think my grandmother told me that more
I
than
hear
once.
that one a lot.
Yeah,
I
hear that your grandma's voice
Uh
in your
huh.
head. Yeah.
Uh huh. So I don't necessarily want to say what is next, but um, I'm I'm very close to just crowdsourcing an idea just to see what anyone else thinks is, because I've got a little bit extra space right now, and I just want to know what am I not thinking of that would be a great fit here. Um, Besides what else I want to do, I think there's more opportunity. Having the big space, we call it the fantasy factory because it's big enough that we could turn it into anything, and
Yeah.
we've repurposed some of the space already. um, when i think about when I think about developing a floor plan, I did 17 different floor plans before we started construction as to how I could lay everything out. And I remember James said to me, he's like, "Are you seriously trying to make everybody happy?" I was like, "Well,
Hmm.
well, yeah, like that's what I'm doing this for. That's why I'm asking each of you, what would you like to see? Like, what do you want in your station or in your area? Like, what would make this the ultimate, like the place you would want to work, the place you would want to be?" um, and I look back at that now, and that was in a sense him letting me know that, you know, I'm making a mistake by trying for others instead of for myself. That's how I've now translated it. um, but I think if I had it to go back and do over again, I would change the floor plan completely, because I did it with everyone else in mind and not what I really wanted. So that was a mistake on my part, because I made a lot of design and aesthetic choices based around people that aren't here anymore. So I wanted to, if I could go back and make some changes, that would be one of them. um, so grow, how that turns into growth, 5 years, I would like to see a lot more of the same. I'd like to see Tyler develop. I'd like to see how much further Rihanna and her piercing can go, Jana and her microblading can go. By 5 years, Josh will have been tattooing for 15 years at
Hmm.
that point. I'll be tattooing 25 years at that point, and I gotta figure that's pretty close to the top of the hill there. So figure out what's next. Figure out what is the next opportunity. Um, I like to keep my eyes and ears open for what that could be. I get a lot of wild ideas and I try to make them happen as quickly as possible. If they're a doable idea, I don't want to be just chasing and throwing away money and stuff. But that's something I think about a lot. I'm not done innovating, and I'm not done seeing what's next yet. I wouldn't even say this is the last tattoo shop I would ever build. Like I have no desire
There's
to
no
go.
restrictions on nothing.
I have no desire to go do it again, but I cannot say with 100% certainty that I would never do it again. It probably wouldn't be as big, but I don't know. We'll see. The economy's adjusting itself right now, so I don't know what's to come. But I want to keep my mind open, and as long as I am still happy doing what I'm doing, then I want to continue doing that. If for some reason I lose a love for my work, then like you said, you never work a day in your life. If that changes, then I'll need to make some more abrupt decisions. But I don't think that's in the cards. I've been doing this for long enough, and I get so much value out of it. The people I talk to, that almost in some days that's what saves it. I might do a tattoo that I'm not necessarily in love with, or I'm not as enthused about the subject matter or the style, but I owe it to them to give them the very best tattoo I'm capable of.
But I also know that you have deal breakers. There are certain things you will not tattoo.
Oh yeah.
Whether they're personal beliefs or just you don't feel right doing that.
Like we don't do hate tattoos, like swastikas, Nazi stuff, any of that. I'm just not interested. I don't want it to come out of here, and I don't want to hang out with somebody for 2 hours
that wants a swastika tattoo.
I'm just not interested. That's not. Yeah. And everyone who has ever worked here has agreed that that's just not our vibe. That's not what we do. I've never received any pushback whatsoever. But like, what if they paid a lot? Everybody just is like-minded enough. They're like, I don't need money enough to do that. So like that's for example. I try to maybe discourage significant others' names because it's potential cover up in the future. But if you do it in such a way that it can be modified, or like get something that means that person, where it'll still have some value later on, but it's not just like
spelled out, right?
Although there's a lot of Steves, you can just find another Steve,
right? It does limit the pool.
Yeah, I learned that came from the old man who had my mom's name, Pat, right underneath a tattoo that he then covered up. But cover-ups weren't quite as good back then, and it just said Pat in that tattoo. So I was like, yeah, that's well. But yeah. So yeah, those are deal breakers. Those are things I have no interest in being a part of. And if that means that I don't grow or I'm not successful, I guess it's not for me, man, because that's not who I am, and that's not what I'm going to do.
Well, I think there's no coincidence that the resurgence, I'm fairly dramatic at times, sometimes jokingly, the Renaissance, Medina Renaissance, parallels your growth.
Sure.
You've been here for that ride when it was empty storefronts downtown. Yep. Now there's waiting lists.
When I rented from Billy and you showed me that place, there were 13 available commercial opportunities. Excuse me. I picked what I felt best suited to my budget and what I felt I could manage, and was located where I wanted to be. And there was a time a couple of years ago where there was nothing available again. And I think things are balancing. There's still a couple of spots available. The rent is too damn high. That'll never be not true. So it's a challenge to find that right spot. And it's got to be the right spot. Like if I would never want to be on a second floor just for my business and how I know how to do things. I tattoo folks in power chairs, wheelchairs, crutches, as well as I have a couple of clients that just simply don't walk well, and I would never want to put a flight of stairs between what I offer and them, not to say that a second floor tattoo studio is less or inferior. That's by no means what I'm trying to say. But for me, I knew that wouldn't be what I wanted. All right, I think you've successfully stopped bleeding. So if you want to check that out, we are at a spot where we could be done with the tattoo portion. So let me just dab you dry. Tatted.
All right, Shawn, thank you. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
friendship, for the business that we've done together, for being part of the community. And yeah, you're in no small part of the Medina community. So thank you for taking the time to give me some new art and
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
being my first guest. Appreciate it.
Happy to do it. I hope it went well. I hope we get something we can use out of this. And yeah,